Hi everyone, Tracy here with the Oasis for Natural Healing. So, drop a comment, or if you have any questions and the live has ended, don't be afraid to answer or ask any questions in the comment section, and I will be checking those out even after the live ends. And you can ask any questions that you want, and I will try my best to respond as fast as possible. One of the things tonight is I want to kind of challenge the way people think about healthcare. And one of the biggest myths that you don't have a diagnosis, so you basically are then healthy. And that kind of doesn't really seem to make a whole bunch of sense. And let me explain why. A lot of people have tons of symptoms and they go to the doctor, and the doctor says your labs look great. You're in the best shape of your life. Let me ask you, how many people have felt like that, where they felt like they went to the doctor and maybe the doctor turned around and told them that, and they still don't feel their best, but the doctor says, your labs look great. Well, then why do you have your symptoms? And why are you not able to sleep at night? Or why do you have all these gut issues and all the diagnostic testing comes back okay? Or you're irritable, or you're moody, or you feel older than what you should feel. Or how many of you just chuck it up to that it's the aging process? Because a lot of people do. I'm just getting older. This is what happens when you get older. Or for women, it's just part of menopause, and it's just part of that life cycle, right? It's the transitioning period, or it's just that time of the month. And so we chuck up common symptoms to be normal because a whole bunch of women have it, so it must be normal, right? Or everybody my age gets like this. So eventually, this is kind of normal, right? What if I told you no, it's not? What if I told you that everything that you thought was normal actually isn't? And what if I told you that there was an underlying cause to your symptoms and that you shouldn't settle for, oh, I'm just getting older? Or a lot of women have it, or a lot of guys have this. And it's just what we have to go through. What if I told you you didn't have to go through these things? And just because your labs are normal, it doesn't mean it's normal for you. As a family nurse practitioner and being in the medical field for, oh gosh, 25 years, 25 plus years. Actually, yeah, 25 plus years. I can tell you that a lot of labs miss a lot of different things. And just because it's normal for one person doesn't make it normal for you. And lab work is an average. And just because you fit somewhere in the middle, Western medicine deems you normal. But if it was truly normal, then why do you feel the way you do? Why aren't you sleeping at night? Why don't you have the energy? Why do you keep having mood swings? Why do you have high blood pressure and gut issues? Why do you have autoimmune issues? Why do you have all these symptoms if your blood work is normal? Because it's not normal for you. So some things that I would really take a look at, and you can get hair analysis done, which can check for toxins. And it's a really good way. It's very expensive. I think some of them can be several $100s to get your hair analysis done. And then you still have to figure out, like with the guidance of a practitioner, on how to handle those toxins. some people have done, stool testing and fecal testing and things like that. But one of the things is that it's very inadequate to measure or check for parasites, because parasites don't have to necessarily be in the stool, and you can still have parasites because they can be in the liver, they can be in the brain. Yes, the brain. They can be in joint tissue causing your issues. They can even be in the lungs. I've had some patients that actually blew out parasites from their sinuses. They were getting chronic headaches and bloody noses, and they actually had parasites in their sinus cavity. And if you get a chance to look on my Facebook page, you can actually go back and take a look. But yeah, you can see that the parasite that a patient blew out after we did a neti pot nasal wash. Quite interesting. But you can have a lot of different things causing your symptoms. You can spend a couple $100 getting Dutch tests, which is different lab works and to figure out like hormones and things like that. So some of these, all these wonderful tests can be hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars. And that still doesn't include like a possible treatment plan, or you have to go then to a practitioner and bring all these lab work to that practitioner and pay for the consultation and everything else. So how do you really figure out what's going on with your health? And how can you figure out without thousands and thousands of dollars later? I mean, I've heard some people spending quite a bit of money on trying to figure out what's going on, because Western labs are normal, and technically, for thyroid issues, they only do TSH levels, and TSH is very inadequate by itself to figure out what's going on with the thyroid. So how do you figure all this stuff out, and what do you do with it? Well, that's a very good question. So again, I don't necessarily, I guess traditional blood work, and I'm not saying not to get it, kind of gives us a baseline. What would be more accurate is when you start doing, like, you see a holistic practitioner and they can maybe like check for things like Lyme, mold, and parasites, and you get initial blood work done. And then after you figure out like what the underlying issues is, and you start feeling better, then to do a repeat blood work. And that would probably be more accurate way of figuring out exactly where your body likes the labs at, for the range for your body, so to speak. One of the things that I like is the MVX Plus test, which we do in the office. It's actually a fairly new blood work, came out within the last year and a half to 2 years. And what they did was they did a study over a 10-year period on over 300,000 patients. And they found out that this blood work actually gives a better idea of internal health than putting all the comorbidities together. So like they would, like, let's say you had like diabetes. Let me explain this. Let's say you had diabetes. Let's say you had high blood pressure, or you had an autoimmune. Those are comorbidities. So those are diseases. And the more you have, or the type of comorbidity, the more not healthy you were. Well, that's not really the case, because how many people, I don't know if you guys do, if this kind of explains you, put it in the comments. But how many of you guys don't have any of these comorbidities, but you guys don't feel well? So is going based off of comorbidities a really good indication of your health? Not really. So the MVX Plus test, again, they did a study on over 10,000 patients or 300,000 patients over a 10-year period. And they found that this MVX Plus test, and it's fairly inexpensive to get done. It's an actual blood draw, and it's a good way to find out a couple different things. Chances, like overall internal health, and what's your cellular health like? How healthy are your cells and how healthy are your tissues? So it gives us that. It tells us the inflammation, like how much inflammation is in your body. And we know that inflammation leads to disease. So we kind of want to know that. It tells us through glycate, it's a lab value, and it gives us an idea of how much inflammation is in the body and if there's any infection. Now, one of the things that the glycate does is it doesn't do is it doesn't differentiate between an acute infection. It'll be up if you have like a common cold, or if you just got through with the flu, or you had like a sinus infection. So it'll go up by that. But it also is elevated if you have a chronic infection, such as mold, Lyme, candida, parasites. So it gives us an idea, hey, there's an infection going on. And then it turns around and also gives us an idea of your liver function and your mitochondria function, gives us an idea of overall nutritional status. Are you able to, you could be eating the cleanest diet, but are you actually able to turn around and utilize the nutrients that you actually are ingesting? Can you break it down and process it? It also, I hate to say it, guys, it kind of rats on you too. And it tells us, you know, are you eating too many carbohydrates versus enough proteins for your body too? Are you eating too much refined sugars? You know, is your diet and what you're eating working for you or against you? And again, even if you are eating the cleanest diet, it kind of gives us an idea of are you able to utilize it? And how it does that is there's a metabolic malnutrition index number, which gives us an overall idea of your overall nutritional status. And then the citrate levels. So there's 4 levels that actually break this down: citrate, valine, leucine, and isoleucine. Now, valine, leucine, and isoleucine, these are amino acids typically found in protein. They can be off kilter depending on the type of foods that you're eating. Also, if you're thiamine deficient, so it can be off kilter with that too. So it kind of like looking at these numbers, we can kind of figure out like, oh, yes, maybe you're eating too many proteins or good amount of proteins, and that's not the issue, but maybe you can't break down proteins and actually digest them properly. So now your digestive system needs a little bit of help. Or if these numbers are really, really low, then it kind of gives us an idea that, oh, this person might be turning around and eating too many carbohydrates versus proteins, or maybe they're eating too much sugary foods, and now they're becoming malnourished because of the amount of carbohydrates and the amount of sugars that they're eating. And then it kind of gives us an idea, or that there might be thiamine deficient or a combination of both. So it gives us like a starting point on where to go. That's why I like the MVX Plus test. Now, when that's coupled with, and I don't know if any of you guys have heard of muscle testing, but this is where I like muscle testing coming into place, because the MVX Plus test kind of gives us an idea like overall what's going on internally. And muscle testing kind of pinpoints things. So what we can do with muscle testing is figure out what organs are functioning optimally and which ones are not. And then like the reason why. So if the glycate is elevated, it doesn't necessarily specify like, okay, it's bad bacteria, or it's candida, or it's a virus, or it's Lyme or Lyme co-infection, right? That's not what the MVX Plus test just tells me that, hey, there's an infection going on somewhere. Muscle testing actually pinpoints the reason why. Like, yes, you have a combination of Lyme or Lyme co-infection and parasites, or you have candida and like a virus, and it could be like things like Epstein-Barr virus. It doesn't get that specific, but it lets me know that, hey, yes, there is a virus going on, and it's a hidden virus that's, you know, maybe a chronic viral infection. Okay, so, and then it also kind of gives me an idea, like with the muscle testing, whether there's some toxins in the body. And toxins are going to always stress out the liver and damage the mitochondria. So if the citrate levels are off balance and we find toxins, then we have a good idea of why that citrate level is off balance. And then we have a good jumping start to how to handle it. And so that's where like the MVX Plus test and pairing it with the muscle testing works really, really well together. Now, some of you guys, I don't know, believe it or not, the muscle testing can actually be done virtually. And it might seem a little bit wonky and goofy, but yes, it can be done virtually. And how? Well, this is quantum physics, and this is based off of physics. Okay. So like you're watching me, right? I don't know where you guys are at. If you guys would like to let me know where you guys are located at, that would be great. I'm in the Chicagoland area. You could be in Florida or Maryland, or you might be in California. How is my picture and my voice traveling all the way over to you? How is it getting from my computer over to your computer or your phone or whatever you're watching me on? And people will say, well, satellite and well, radioactive, like it's radio waves. And yes, it's radio waves. It's a frequency, it's an energy. Everything is made up of energy. So, have you guys ever thought of somebody and all of a sudden they called or texted you? Or let's say you have, like, I don't know, wherever you work, you have a client or a patient or whatever, and you haven't heard from them from them in a while, and all of a sudden you thought of them, and all of a sudden they called or texted you, or they walked through the door, or your best friend, you thought of your best friend and they were just texting you as you were thinking of them. That's the same concept. That is energy. We know that energy is real. This is physics and this is science. It's not some sort of woo-ish. It's not some sort of whatever. It's a real thing. So you picked up on that person's energy. And that's based off of quantum physics. And so quantum nutrition testing is muscle testing long distance based off of quantum energy and quantum physics. It's not woo-ish. It is actual science. I would consider that you guys look up quantum entanglement and quantum physics. It's really quite fascinating. Actually, it's a little bit above my pay scale because it makes my brain hurt when I actually think about it. But it's really quite fascinating. I don't fully understand it. I just know it works. And it's apparent because, again, the same things have happened to me where I think of somebody. Actually, this happened last night. I was on the phone. I actually was calling my aunt, and right when I was calling her, I'm like, I bet you she's talking to me. And she said, she put the thing right to her, where you get the message, I'll call you back later. Well, I got that message. And then I talked to her later on tonight and she goes, we were just literally talking about you. I was with my friends and we were just literally talking about you when you happened to call. I started laughing. I was like, that actually happened. I was trying to call you and I'm like, I have a feeling she's talking about me. And sure enough, she was. So these things can actually be fine-tuned where you can actually do it on a more routine basis. But that's quantum physics, that's quantum entanglement, that's quantum energy. No different. And so we use that in order to figure out no matter where you're at, which is so darn cool. And we have patients actually across the country. So for the MVX Plus test and the consultation, normally, so the consultation with me is 2 appointments. Each appointment is a little over an hour long. That's over 2 hours of professional consultation time. And the blood work, all of that typically is $350. We're actually doing a special for the month of August, back to school, for $125. So that's over 2 hours of professional consultation time, blood work, interpretation of the blood work, and putting together a game plan for you to get you back on your health no matter where you're at. $125 for all three things. Normally it's $350. Or if you're still not sure what you want to do, then you can always schedule a free 10-minute discovery phone call and you can call our office and you can ask more in-depth questions before you even make a decision, if that's even something that you want to do. So give us a call, 708-694-4092. Have a good one, guys.